And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren, and welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful, finally sunshiny day. We're in the west field. We're preparing to cut hay. This is a gamble. This is a super gamble. I've been watching the weather forecast like my life depended on it almost. And it's iffy. We have rain in the forecast in 5 days. Today's a Wednesday. We cut the test plot yesterday, late yesterday evening, after a bunch of rain. And that ground, I just came from there, and that ground under that hay is damp, wet from that hay. That may have been a mistake. I maybe should have let that ground dry before I cut that test plot. But in any event, it's cut. We're not going to cry over spilled milk. We're going to have to get out there and stay on top of tedding that hay. I think probably tedding it twice a day at minimum to keep it spread out, to rev up the RPMs on that tractor, get those baskets turning pretty darn fast so it can help crimp some of those stems to help with the dry down. We're going to have to get this stuff dried down by at the latest Monday morning. Today's a Wednesday, and we have clear weather today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then it's supposed to rain Monday. We're in our west field, and we're going to cut this today. It's about noon now. I normally don't like to cut quite this early. I'd rather let our sugars and starches get higher and cut late in the evening. But because of the rain in the forecast Monday and the wetness of that test plot, we're going to have plenty of time to ted. So we're cutting this earlier to give us another half day of dry down to make dry hay out of this. And this west field's pretty good shape. It's not as good as the test plot. It's not near as thick because of the drought and the slope of the land. This west field is, up here at the top's not too bad, but the further I get down to where we quit cutting hay, it gets really steep. And we stop at a certain point where we know not to go past with our tractor for safety. And this ground back here does not hold moisture as good as the test plot. So during the drought, this did not grow as good. Now, since the rains we got, the undergrowth has come on some. Nothing like a normal spring year. But because of that drought, our yield's going to be down on this field. We still got some good hay in it. So we're going to cut it. It's got tall fescue, orchard grass, and timothy. And quite a bit of timothy in this field. Our test plot and the west field here has more timothy than the main hay field. The main hay field does not have quite as much timothy as the test plot and the west field. That in between, we got to correct that this coming winter with more frost seed and timothy. So we're going to get started here in a minute, cutting this west field. This field, off the further down you go, it gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And like I said in our last video, there is no hay worth your life. Do not get your tractor on places that are too steep. It's just not worth it. I've ran my tractor a lot through here. Four-wheelers, mowers. I know the steepness of it. I know there's no groundhog holes there. I know there's one place where a big rock was dug out of the ground way over, and we go around it. I've got an established path around that hole, but the rest of the field is smooth and not a danger of us dropping into a groundhog hole or a bad divot or washout somewhere that could cause our tractor to roll. We got our roll bar up, our seat belt will be on, and we mow this field until we get off that lower end. We mow it pretty slow just for safety reasons. Then we can speed up. But until we get away from where it is so steep, we mow it pretty slow just for safety. So we're going to get started cutting this, and we're taking a gamble. Really good looking forecast for the next, let's see, today's a Wednesday, so we'll count that a half day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 4 and a half days. And here in the mountains of western North Carolina at our elevation and our humidity during the summers and things, generally speaking, we need 5 days to make hay. 5 pretty, sunny, breezy, lower humidity days to make hay. This is only going to give us about 4. 3.5 to 4 if we bale Saturday. And we may have to bale Sunday, I just don't know. I'd prefer to wait till Monday, but that may not be an option. Sheep is right below this west field. We've got them in a pasture down here. A rotational fence runs along where we quit cutting hay. And as I go along, you may see that rotational fence, and you may see the sheep and the dogs in there. Hope you don't start barking at the orange tractor going by. She's turning out to be a good livestock guardian dog. We are very happy with her. Anyway, let's get started cutting hay. tractor, getting ready to mow the very last strip. Look at that. And I've apparently pushed a nest of baby rabbits into that last strip. See if I can rescue them. Don't want to hurt them. I don't see no more in there. Right there sits one. See the little joker? A little bitty thing. Look at that. Let's go. Let's see if I can encourage him to go. There we go. Keep it going, little buddy. His brother went up this way somewhere. Perfect. Right, here's another one. Okay, little buddy, go in there with your, I like rabbits. Go in there with your part, buddy. Okay, both of them went in that brush. Perfect. Let's see if there's any more. Two's all I saw. Well, let's just make sure that there's no more. Well, I don't like the way my tractor's sitting on that hill. Hope my parking brake holds. Okay, I think I rescued the bunnies. Let's get this live strip cut. Go park the mower and get the tedder. Westfield's mowed. All right, it's all cut. Not near as good a hay as our test plot because of the drought. Man, I'm telling you, it just did not grow back here like it has in years past. And really none of our hay fields compared to the test plot. That's why it's the test plot. That's kind of like our gem on the farm, and it's an exception. For a lot of folks, this would probably be normal, but for my expectations, it's not. Really nothing we could do about it. Drought and lack of rain. Even though we got some rain the last couple of weeks, it was just not, the damage had been done. It did help the undergrowth. There was some undergrowth come back on under it, but the stem part had gotten past mature, and there just wasn't enough rain earlier when that undergrowth and that leafy material on those stems would have been being produced. There was just no moisture, and it just baked the field, but we're gonna make the best out of it we can. This is for our use. And we're going to get our drum mower swung back around into the transport position. Just right here, I just happened to look down. Can you see all this handful of grass here? You see the tall fescue. Then look down in that fescue, see that? There's a bunch of Timothy in this. I mean a bunch, but the good leafy material underneath those stems is lacking, and there's nothing we can do about that. It is what it is. So we're gonna make the best out of it we can. We got limited time, I think, before rain comes, so we're gonna have to stay on top of these fields, tedding them. So let's get our drum mower put back in the transport position and head to the barn, blow it all off real good with a leaf blower, park it back under our equipment shed, and hook up the tedder. The shed hooked up our Rhino PT 207 hay tedder. First tedding of 2026. I love this machine. This is a good implement. We got to adjust it to the ground, and everything on this machine, this implement, is ready to go. The gearbox has been filled full of grease. The baskets have been greased. And right now what I'm doing is adjusting the tines to the ground. That looks pretty close. Okay, when you're adjusting your tines to the ground, adjust them where you think it's right. and then make one round or half a round, 500 yards, 100 yards, whatever. Watch your tines. Make sure they're not digging into the sod, digging into your stubble. Last thing you want to do in good quality hay is kick sod and dirt up into it. And you can do that really easy with a tedder if you ain't careful. So we will adjust it to where it's picking up all the hay it can, but not digging in to the sod. And that looks really close. We'll try it right there for, you know, a short distance. Look around out of the back of the seat, keep our eye on it, and make sure it's not digging in. If it's not low enough, we'll lower it down another turn. But we got it all hooked up. The PTO's been greased. Everything's greased. Everything's ready to go. We're going to stop for about 5 minutes. Take us an apple break. We're ready to start tedding hay. And we are going to have to stay on top of this hay in order to meet our dry down. We got a narrow window before the weather guessers say rain comes on Monday. So we're going to have to stay on top of this hay because it's stemmy, and stem holds moisture. We're going to have to stay on it, tedding it. We're going to have to take it dead serious about tedding. And we're going to have to ted this thing every day, probably maybe twice a day. We'll turn it at the mid-morning and turn it again mid-evening. And then the next day, turn it mid-morning, mid-evening. And maybe we can get this dried down before the rain comes and get it baled. We're sure going to try. While we've got the radiant sun on the ground and on this cut hay, we're going to ted it and keep it fluffed and flipped. And the first couple times we ted this hay, I'm going to bend over right here and pick some up. You can see it, it's stemmy. It's a bunch of orchard here. The first few times we ted it, we're going to kick it hard. I'm not talking we're going to kick it plumb over the fence, you know, with a 2-basket tedder, but we're going to speed that tedder up. We're going to speed those baskets and let it kick this stuff pretty hard, about like Mike Tyson on Marvis Frazier. We're going to punch this stuff pretty hard the first time or two we ted it to help crimp these stems and crimp them so they'll dry down a little bit faster. And then as the hay progresses in drying, we'll slow our tedding down more and more. And speaking of a tedder, that to me is one of the most valuable tools in a hay field. There's still a lot of people around that don't ted their hay. And you ask them, why don't you ted hay? And it's, well, my pawpaw didn't ted hay, and his always turned out good. And I'm just going to do what my pawpaw did. Well, if your pawpaw would have knew about the technology and the knowledge that's out now, we're not in the 1950s anymore. Laboratories and these universities have studied hay production, the agricultural departments. They've studied hay grasses, they've studied alfalfas, all this type of stuff extensively. And your pawpaw probably did not know about a stomatal opening on a leaf. This leaf on this, coming off this stem, I'll just pull the leaf off. These leaves on these stems have stomatal openings. It's micro pores on these leaves. And what they do is during the day from the sunlight, I forget the word for that, it's not chlorophyll, that's what's in leaves. The photosynthesis, or whatever you want to call it, the word's escaping me at the moment. The leaves, the plants convert that sunlight into sugars and starches. And those sugars and starches build all day long, and in the evenings they're at their highest. That's why a lot of folks that's got horses that are prone to founder only let their horses out on the pasture to graze of the mornings up through about midday, and then they put them back in a dry lot or in a stall. At night, those stomatal openings, those little micropores, they close when it gets dark. And that's a signal to that plant to start consuming, pulling all that those nutrients out of the plant down into the roots to grow. That's what it's going to feed on all night long while it's dark. The next morning when the sun comes back out, those stomatal openings on these leaves open back up, allowing the sunlight to penetrate and build sugars and starches and nutrients back into that plant, and it will store them in there until night comes again. Okay, I'm gonna bend over and pick up a bunch of hay here, a bunch of fescue. Okay, when you cut it, all this that's laying under here in the bottom is in the dark. What happens? All of a sudden, these grasses are tricked into thinking it just got dark. It's dark under there. All this other grass is on top of it, and everything that's under the top layer thinks it's dark, and the stomatal openings close, and that plant will start, even though it's been cut, it don't realize it's been cut at the moment. It will start sending out those sugars and starches and nutrients from the sunlight down like it's going to the root system. And you're losing, through leaching, you're losing a lot of your nutrients, your micronutrients, your sugars and starches in the hay, things of that nature is just leaching out when it stays in these swaths that, like a drum mower or a disc mower or a hay bind makes. When they cut the hay, they kick it out into a swath. You can see our field, it's kicked into swaths where I just got done cutting it a few minutes ago. This needs spread out into this sun. It will speed up dry down, and not only that, that tedder kicking this out will keep those stomatal openings or pores on those hay grass leaves open to retain more nutrients. If Papaw would have known that, he'd have went and bought him a tedder. So, you know, and that's no slam on the old timers. If you don't know, you don't know. Technology had not advanced to that point. In 1885, they were not driving around on a four-wheel drive tractor. They were pulling stuff with a team of mules. So, you know, if you don't have access to that knowledge, and that knowledge has not advanced, it's no slam. They done really good with what they had. But if Papaw would have known about a tedder, he'd have went and bought him one. I don't understand why people will cut hay this day and time and not ted their hay. I don't get it. And you can buy a 2-basket tedder. They're not that bad expensive. Go to Carver Equipment's website and you can look. A 2-basket tedder run you somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,500, $3,000, something like that. I'm not sure. I haven't looked. We bought this one used on the used market, and it's a Rhino PT207 2-basket hay tedder, and that thing works phenomenal. All right, let's get started tedding. As soon as we finish tedding this west field, I'm going straight to the test plot to ted it. we're done tedding the west field. All right, we're gonna raise this back up so we can transport it to the test plot. There we go. Should do it. All right, test plot bound. And we may be back to this field here in a little while. I think we got our work cut out for us in this test plot. That rain we got yesterday morning, the ground had not completely dried out good enough. I thought maybe it was close enough, but it maybe wasn't. And then yesterday evening it rained on it, and it didn't rain a lot, just a shower, but it was enough to where this hay was down. And the top of it's starting to look, you can look around and see it, the top's starting to look, you know, like the next day hay. But man, you bend over and pick some of it up, just like this, and the underneath is wet, wet. All right, we have got our work cut out for us in this test plot. We're going to stay on tedding this stuff like a madman and keep it stirred and keep it stirred and keep it stirred. And I'm gonna kick it pretty hard here in just a minute, and then we're going to have to ted this stuff, check it every 3 or 4 hours every day until we can get it dried, or at least try. All right, let's start kicking this stuff. Well, we're done for the day. We've done our first cut on the west field today and tedded both fields. And man, I'm telling you, this test plot is thick. I did not realize it was this thick. The only thing I can contribute it to is sheep been on it over the winter. And they spent some time here grazing on it, and manure and urine and all the good stuff they do. That's why we got them. One of the reasons. And this hay's gonna have to be stayed on top of, because man, it's some good hay for first cut. And the undergrowth here, there was more undergrowth in this test plot than probably the main field and the west field combined. This soil up here just holds moisture better through droughts. And if you go back a couple of videos, you can see I done a video about the drought, and I showed the test plot, and then we walked out into the main field, and holy cow, the difference was night and day. This soil just did not wash as bad, the topsoil, during Helene, and it holds moisture better, where it's not as sloped either. Now it does get pretty sloped when you get down, but up here, 3/4 of it's pretty, not level, but gently sloped. And it holds moisture better. And it's fared through this drought so much better than our other fields. But we are gonna have to stay on top of it. I got down here a minute ago after tedding it and fell around in the grass underneath this, and it's drying out. That tedding Look at that. That tedding, that's just one little small handful. The tedding really helped it. And I kicked this hard. I mean, I turned the RPMs up. I was running about 540 on the PTO, and I was letting it rip. And I kept my ground speed a little slower so it would have more time to kick it harder at a slower speed. When you speed up, it actually kicks it less because you're going through it faster. But let's just pray this sun stays out for the next several days. We're going to have to stay on top of this tedding it. And I'll be back with you when that time comes. I'm wore out. I've hooked up implements all day, and you ever had one of those days you got out and worked and you didn't sleep real good the night before? From there, I'll be back with you in the next day or two for more tedding and keep you updated on this stuff. This small scale hay equipment, man, I'm telling you, it works. And it works well. This 2-basket tedder. If you don't own a hay tedder and you don't ted your hay, you should look into it. Just like this laying on this wet ground, I think May could have ruined this hay. But kicking it today has really helped it. It has spread it out of those swaths where that ground can breathe a little bit and dry up. This hay can breathe all fluffed and kicked out. We'll go from there. Thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back with you with our new Mower rotary rake. That'll be coming up soon. I am looking so forward to using that rotary rake. It's a bigger rake than I thought it was, but it's still small enough to be considered small scale hay equipment. All right, we're done for today except for doing our animals later. I think as far as the tractor work goes and the hay goes, we're done for the day. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it, and I pray God blesses you and your family. And we pray y'all have a fantastic day.